Boys and girls, god gamers, hardcore weebs, and Olympic gooners, welcome to our last Mage episode. It has been a wild ride from struggling to kill normal mobs because we were running out of mana to having boss fights that went on for more than 3.5 minutes. I went through all of Mage knowing that eventually I will come to this moment where I will finally get weapons that will make my life easy. But I did not know that all of that will come at a price. That price being my mental. We are yet to go through the remaining bosses in today's episode, so I won't yet talk about my final thoughts regarding Mage, but as I said in probably every single episode this playthrough, things are not looking great. Thank you very much for joining me today, and let us start going through everything, starting off with building our massive endgame arena. Now, we will be doing things a little differently this playthrough, at least when it comes to bosses. In the previous ones, I was first fighting the old Duke, then the dog, then Yaron, and then Jared. But since we're playing Mage, Jared will be our most important target. That being said though, I tried fighting him for around 20 times and was unfortunately unsuccessful in killing him. My gear was just too bad and my skills were too non-existent. But the dog is a boss I don't struggle too much against, as I've had hundreds of attempts not only during our playthroughs but even before that. So we will be facing him first, so that we can get our better weapons, accessories and the silver armor. So with all of that being said, our arena is finally completed and we are now ready to face the Devourer of Gods. "17 attempts later, he is defeated, and in the last part you guys can see why I always say that it is easier to go in an S pattern instead of trying to coil him. You can coil him in the first part of the boss as he's slower, but I would strongly recommend ram dashing him once he comes out of the portal in phase 2. But now with the dog defeated, we can blast through the event really quickly and start building everything. Of course, we will make the silver armor with the wings, which gives us the strongest armor set bonus in the game in my opinion. We will make the ethereal talisman, but turn off the mana flower effect as we don't want to get cucked by the mana sickness debuff. Of course, we make the Asgardian Aegis and the amalgam, and when it comes to our weapons of choice, after building pretty much every single weapon for that stage of the game, the ones we will be using for Jared are the Tesla Cannon and the Primordial Ancient for the buff that gives us 8% damage reduction, 15% increased damage and massively increased mana regen. It is also able to inflict armor crunch on enemies, so that is also nice. But now let us go down to the abyss that we flattened out a while ago and let us fight Jared, the Primordial Worm. and on our 29th attempt, out of which only 8 were made after we defeated the dog, we defeat Jared and claim our grand prize, the Illusioner's Reverie and the Eye of Madness. The two weapons that make Mage one of the strongest classes in the endgame, having insane damage and full homing. On top of everything, they require almost no mana. And in case you haven't seen exactly what they're capable of, if you get them early on, let us grab our Phoenix egg, go to our arena and test out the weapons against the Jungle Dragon Yaron. It took us 2 warm-up attempts, but on our 3rd attempt and with a flawless no-hit second phase, we defeat him in 1 minute and 37 seconds, which is the fastest and easiest Yaron kill I've ever had. It really shows you just how OP these weapons really are, when we're able to manhandle Summoner like that. And Summoner was already insane to begin with. But now with Yaron defeated, we get our Wings of Rebirth and all of the Auric ore we need to make our Auric Tesla armor. And after getting all of the health and mana upgrades, we go to the Sulphurous Sea to catch 3 bloodworms for the Bloodworm Platter, and it is time to take the best and most satisfying revenge, as it is time to fight the Old Duke. Is it unfair to use overpowered weapons, armor and accessories for a lower tier boss? Of course it is, but after I heard the Old Duke's death screech, I called up NASA and asked them if I can use their radar satellite because I wanted to find out who the fuck asked. For all I care, the Old Duke can rot at the bottom of the abyss where he fucking belongs. But now it's time to make all of the Draven machinery, place it all down in our arena, call down this Olympic yapper, and after his yapping session ends, finally face his exomechanical creations. and after I don't even know how many attempts, we finally defeat them. It actually took way longer than I expected, mostly because Artemis and Apollo are quite hard for me, but at last we managed to take him down. Also, for our winning attempt, we made a Reaper Tooth necklace because I found out I was lacking damage. And now it is time for our last battle. It is time to face the Supreme Witch Calamitas and find out who is the better wizard. But before that, it is time to make a couple of accessories as well as one weapon. In our rogue playthrough, we went a couple steps further because I was a little scared of what Calamitas might be like. Well, if I was scared then, I am low-key shitting my pants right now. So we will of course get the Brimstone Crescent staff from killing the cow clone in the Brimstone Crags. Of course we will make the Chalice of the Blood God, Radiance, the Rampart of Deities, and lastly get the Community. Once the DSP starts, we will switch all of these for the Reaper Tooth Necklace, the Arc Flash Ring, the Ethereal Talisman, and the Eye of Golem for as much defensiveness as humanly possible. And now for the weapon I mentioned. So the Illusioner's Reverie is great for Calamitas, and if you remember our Exomex fight, the Eye of Madness was melting through Thanatos. But unfortunately the Eye of Madness is nowhere near as good at melting the Sepulchre. Which means that we have a problem, as Calamitas is hard enough for me already, let alone have a massive flesh worm that I also have to deal with before that. So because of that, we will make the best weapon for her, which is the Supernova. Now some of you might be a little confused because I'm not playing rogue, which means that I don't have stealth. But in the Hogwild update, they reworked the weapon. And now if you hold the left click, you will charge the stealth meter, which means that we don't need to make a rogue armor. And so with all of these preparations completed, let us go to our arena and face the Supreme Witch Calamitas. Take a good look at my accessories, boys and girls. I almost cucked myself completely because I was trying to be so fast and managed to fuck up the order of everything. On top of that, I don't know if you saw that, but in the middle of the DSP I got alcoholic poisoning, which I have no idea how it happened, as I only have 4 total alcohols and I have the sandwich, but thankfully it was all good at the end. 21 attempts later and we proved that we are, in fact, the better wizard. Maybe now I will finally get my Hogwarts owl, but I can only hope. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for being with me today. To put it in simple terms, it has been a wild journey. There were many hardships along the way, but we conquered it all. And now let us get into the moment you have totally all been waiting for, my own class ranking. Starting from the bottom, many of you might be in absolute complete shock, but unfortunately we will be putting Mage there. I know, no one saw that coming. All jokes aside, I've never had a worse Infernum experience than Mage. From having the slowest and most boring start of the game, to struggling against 80+% of all bosses, to having weapons that are so cool in theory but have probably the worst execution. If Infernum didn't add those 2 busted weapons after you kill Jared, Mage would have never been in the class ranking to begin with, as it would be in its own separate kindergarten, because this class sucks major ass. I have absolutely no idea what the devs are doing, but they gotta step up this balancing game, because this is literally League of Legends level balancing, and we have all seen what a fat Jax or Karthus can do in the late game. After that, in the A tier, I will of course put Melee, Rogue and Ranger. Each one of these has its weaknesses and strengths. Melee is very tanky, has very good damage and can use flasks which increase its damage even more, but struggles versus the endgame a little bit. Rogue has insane damage and can again use flasks, but the weapons can be a little harsh, as some of them have a little to no homing or have a very weird usage like the Final Dawn. And Ranger is pretty much the all-rounder. Has close to the tankiness of Melee, has pretty good damage, has the biggest range and ease of use, because most weapons either have great homing or you can get bullets or arrows with homing, and even though Grape Beer was reworked and I think pretty heavily nerfed, mostly because it had to be, it is still usable and it makes it even better. And lastly, I think you all saw this coming, but in the S tier we of course have Summoner. It might have the slowest early game, as most summons are kinda trash, especially the ones that cannot fly, but once you reach hard mode, things get easier and easier. The damage is out of this planet. You have Silva immunity, you barely need to aim, as your summons are the ones doing all of the damage, and minion mixing in the endgame is cracked as hell. The only bad parts are that it is made out of paper just like Mage, and that you need to know how to minion mix in the late game, which can take some time and effort and potentially 30 minutes up to an hour of testing minions together. Oh yeah, and I suppose having to resummon every single time you die, although there are mods to get rid of that problem, but not every single Calamity weapon works with that, so if you're using them, be careful. If you want the ranking in a tier list form, here it is. I know it might be harsh for Mage, but again, to me personally, it is insane just how weak Mage is throughout 80 to 90% of the game, and only becomes playable once you have the Infernum exclusive weapons. The gameplay is rough, the mana problems are too massive, and you get punished extremely hard for getting mana sickness. Rogue has the stealth mechanic, and not attacking for a while and then nuking stuff with stealth is a legit strategy, as I proved in my Rogue playthrough, but Mage is just that, but without the good damage. Almost all drawbacks and barely any positives. But with this massive yapping session out of the way, again, I thank you all for watching this episode and for being with me this whole journey. since we ran out of normal classes to play, I have something special prepared for you guys. Again, I won't be playing Ranger because I already did a playthrough with it. Even though it was only on Revengeance, the class doesn't really play that differently in Infernum, so we will skip it at least for now. Maybe in the future they will make a couple of other big updates and we can do all classes again once they are properly changed. But for now, I hope you have enjoyed this episode and this whole playthrough, and if you did, make sure to tsunami the shit out of that like and subscribe button so you don't miss out on the special surprise coming in the next episode. Alongside that, you will find the links to all of my socials in the description, where I always post whenever a new video is out, so make sure to give those a follow if you wish. There will also be a link to my Patreon, and if you people wish to support me further, you can drop a sub to that too, completely optional as per usual. Have a great rest of your weekend, and I hope you Giga Chat weebs will join me in the next video. Finally done with all of this mage bullshit, Vi, out.